One of the sneaky moves for the Eagles they could make this year is one they almost made last. Dallas still stinks. Yo, my new King Dingbat here, and what will the Eagles do? What will Howie Roseman do? I don't know, but I can't wait to find out, because I'm telling you, I'm getting killed right now, right? I'm getting pissed off. So many Cowboy fans, and they're all pissed off, and they just think that I'm arrogant and I'm being cocky and that I just, I'm speaking out my ass. I'm not being any of those things. I'm legitimately looking at the Philadelphia Eagles logically, and I'm looking at how they're built. I'm looking at the fact that what they did last year. I'm looking at the contribution they've gotten from young guys. I'm looking at the coaching staff they have, especially on the defensive side of the ball. I'm looking at the development and the continued maturation of their quarterback. I'm looking at the window in which their running back is in, and I'm just reading the tea leaves. This isn't hard at all. This is really what's going on. And the question is, with the Eagles with $30+ million in cap space, what are they going to do? Because they're going to do something. I know they're going to do something. I don't know when. It may be probably closer to camp. But they're going to do something, Mother Humper. They're going to do something. And that's just the way it is, okay? One of the names that was put out there as a player that the Eagles should possibly go and look into was an interesting name the other day that came out. And that was 4-time Pro Bowler Matthew Judon. Now, if you remember last year, the Eagles were rumored to be in on the Matthew Judon trade. I think he ended up going to the Falcons, but he is once again a free agent. And if the Eagles don't want to go out and spend a ton of money, he may be a guy that they want to look at bringing in. I would not oppose this move, okay? The reason why is I look at a guy like Judon, and I look like a guy like that as a rotational piece. I don't think the Eagles need T.J. Watt or Trey Hendrickson. Of course, it can't hurt you, but I don't think they need it. They definitely don't need it. But what the Eagles do need is they need to make sure they have enough depth and they have that rotation going. I think Nolan Smith and Jalen Hunt will be your starters. But I think, you're going to have Azeez Ojulari. He's going to be rotated in. Uche's going to be rotating in. And if you could add another guy, that's not a bad thing. Here was the suggestion by Patrick McAvoy, who suggests that the Eagles should look at Judon. He said, so who should the Eagles sign, if anyone? What about 4-time Pro Bowler Matthew Judon? He's just 32 years old. To me, that's old. And is coming off a season in which he worked some rust off with the Atlanta Falcons, but still had 5.5 sacks. He played all 17 games with the Falcons in 2024, which was big because he was only able to play in 4 games in his first season with the Patriots in 2023. Of the talent still available in free agency, there aren't many people with higher upside than Judon. This is a guy who had 28 total sacks across 21-22 season with New England. He was well on his way to another big year in 2023. He had 4 sacks in the first 4 games of the season, but the season ended early. I think that's a very interesting name. It's really interesting name because I think Judon can be a player. I still think Judon. I still think he could be. I still think he can have one giant year left, okay, and then maybe have the fall. But I still think if he came in as a rotational piece, I don't see why he couldn't get 6-7 sacks with the Eagles. And it provides insurance, right? Let's say, Nolan Smith takes a little while to come back from his injury, or Jalen Hunt regresses, which I don't think is going to happen, from the end of last year, or Uche really not doing anything, Azeez Ojulari looks lost. To have somebody that could come in, especially with experience, that still could play, I don't think it's a bad idea. I really don't. And it's not going to break the bank. You bring him in, you pay him. If it's not working out, or if some of the young guys are just playing too well, you can't keep them, you can easily move on from them. It's to me it's worthwhile. I think the Eagles, they're a very, very young team. You know, they're losing Brandon Graham, who is a veteran. I don't think adding a veteran on defense is necessarily a bad thing. You know, you lost that in the secondary. You know, who's your Darius Slay in the secondary now? You know, who's your Brandon Graham on the defensive line now? So I don't think that it's necessarily a very, very bad idea. I actually think it's a good idea to bring in somebody that has some, you know, some veteran experience. Of course, you know, everybody wants the big name, the Trey Hendricks and the TJ Watt. But the Eagles aren't going to sign those guys. We know this. We know this, man. But, no, if you go out and you get Matthew Judon and you bring him in, part of this rotation, you're adding a vet that would be very valuable for the Eagles. You know, this is why I think, and this is why I said, this is why I think Justin Simmons is going to end up here. Because I don't think he's got everything left that he used to. I definitely don't. But I think the Eagles might want a veteran presence in the back, you know, in the back of that secondary. So, you know, that's what they could do. They could also look, of course, Jair Alexander's out there. I think Jair Alexander would be a great signing. Okay? But I really like the idea of Matt Judon. I think it's an interesting signing for the Eagles, and it could provide them the depth we need. We're at the point, for the most part, where we're not dealing with looking for starting players. Maybe you want to make some people make the argument safety and corner, or you are, but I really think that they're going to be okay there. But I think you need depth, and I think having a veteran presence a little bit could go a long way. I do, you know, and that's what the Eagles are going to have to do. The other thing I want to say, and just want to say it about this team, because I'm balls to the walls with this team, right? I am convinced. I believe so much that this team is going to win the Super Bowl. All right, and I'm just telling you how I feel. I think that they're that good. Now, on paper, that's the way I think they look. Now you got to go out and do it. Those are two different things. Don't get me wrong, but I just think this team is really, really good. They're really, really young, and if they stay somewhat healthy, I don't see how anybody beats them. I think talent-wise, look, I think that the Eagles, the 2024 Eagles, were when Saquon Barkley said, "Oh yeah, we were a top 5 best Super Bowl team." I don't think he's that far off, and I think he could be right. I think that was one of the best teams I've seen in the last 15, 20 years. I actually think one of the reasons why Cowboy fans are so jealous is because I think Cowboy fans look at that team and they look at the 90 Dallas teams, for those that actually got to see it, which is probably like 30% of the fan base of the Cowboys ever seen that team. But I do think the Eagles are very similar to that team. Think about it. You've got, what did that team have? They had a Hall of Fame quarterback who made the throws when he had to make the throws and did what he had to do when he had to do. They had a Hall of Fame running back. They had one of the best offensive lines in the history of the NFL. And then when you looked at the defense was very fast. I think it was a very underrated defense, and it was a very, very fast defense. I think the Eagles are as closely built to that 90s Cowboys team that we've seen in a long time. Very similar offensively, right? I think the Eagles have the best offensive line since the 90 Cowboys. I think Saquon Barkley is now in a position where he could actually get 2,000 yards this year. It could actually happen, all right? And that's a whole nother issue and a whole nother video in itself. But then you've got the 2 receivers, which Dallas had. And then, like I said, the defense is very underrated, very, very fast and young. And I think that this team right here, I think that they're that good. Okay, so, yeah, when you're in this window that the Eagles are in, because this window is going to last. It's going to last 3, 4, 5 years easy. Because you got players that are young and still can play. And at some point, you're going to see the defense making a lot of money, and we're going to have a lot of fresh, young offensive guys have to come in. But that's 3-4 years away. This team is built for the long haul. No doubt about it. With that said, take care. I'll talk to you later. Of course, don't be a dingbat. Remember, it's Howie Vision, baby. We're all just living in it.
Well, hello, friends. Mark Holmes.
I'm a grown-ass man. See, I'm a grown-ass man. Grown-ass man.
Hey everybody, King Dingbat here. I'm in my garage with a cigar. It's only a candy cigar because my wife won't let me smoke one after I put that big fat head up in our bedroom.
Let's get rid of that. At this point, I'd be happy for Dak to be playing for somebody else. And my team stinks. I agree. Stinks.
They laugh about us. We're a disgrace. We suck.
I am now Philly 500's bitch.
Dallas still stinks. That's all, folks.
The brother screwed us.